Hello.
Are you a fan of Rasheed Walker saying he thinks the Packers can go undefeated this season?
Well, he must have said that when I was talking to someone else in the locker room yesterday, because I did not hear that. I'm a fan of anything that gives us content.
No kidding. I knew that there was going to be nuance to that because I was thinking the same thing. Well, the radio host in me is like, hell yeah, brother. But the fan of me gets a little bit nervous about putting that out there into the, into the world, into the universe.
Yeah, he must have said that when I was talking to Dontavion Wicks about Reed and about how they're going to replace him in the lineup and all the different things that Reed does. So I guess I would say, I know that there are folks out there that think that I apparently don't know what I'm doing when it comes to reporting. I think that was more important, but that's interesting stuff that Shido would say that.
Yeah, he also said he thought they could have gone undefeated the last 2 seasons. So, grain of salt type of situation.
Stop reminding people of that detail of the story, Gabe.
I feel like it's important.
So basically, he's Kyle Wallace.
Yeah, I don't think he yelled it, but yeah, he's got a little Kyle in him, apparently. Or Kyle's got a little Rasheed in him, one of the two.
Jason, I said this be like having a pal, and they were like, I met this guy, I think he's the one. And you'd be like, sure, but you said that about the last two, And one of them was a real stinker.
Now he's in jail. Yeah, okay.
He kind of dodged a bullet on that one. Jason, when it comes to contract extensions now for the Packers, Quay Walker is somebody that they said that they, despite declining the 5th-year option because they didn't want to pay that much for an inside linebacker, is somebody that they wanted to keep around long-term. Once they signed Micah to the deal, I just assumed, okay, maybe that ends up being one of the casualties of signing Micah Parsons, is you're not going to be able to keep Quay Walker. Is he going to be around past this year, or is he like Romeo where he's auditioning for another team?
No, how do I say this? Because it just recently came to my attention that someone in the blogosphere was suggesting that the Jones fracture reporting was inaccurate. And I just, again, would say that my sourcing was really good on that. My understanding is that there has been an offer on the table for Quay Walker for some time. And Quay talked about it on the record with us last week. Like, look, I understand that part of this job is access-based, right? Like, I'm there every day, and I know there are people that think that, those of us that have that access try to avoid writing anything controversial or negative so we can keep that access. But I don't operate that way, and I don't go out of my way like others that have done this job to find negative angles. I will acknowledge that. That ain't my game. Like, the way I always describe it is when a guy gets benched, I will certainly report on the guy getting benched, but I'm more likely to focus my story. While that information will be in the story, I'm more likely to focus on the guy who's getting the opportunity than on the guy that's getting benched. It'll still be in there. Mm-hmm. That information will still be included. But to me, the more interesting angle is, okay, they've benched this Chimura guy. They're going to start this Neitzel guy. This Neitzel guy, big opportunity for him. Okay? That's kind of how my brain works. So in the Quay Walker story, like Quay Walker flat out said that they've been working on this, and then he's been the holdup, is what he said. Okay?
Well, so again, if the second you said, well, it's been on the table, that's pretty obvious to me, Jason, that, Quay doesn't like what the number is. That's if there's been a contract that's been sitting out there, the Packers offered it thinking it's a fair deal, and if it's still sitting there, Quay and his representation are going, okay, how can we get more money? That seems to be the basic thing.
Sure, and I think that's part of the negotiation, but two other things. One, I subsequently talked to Quay, and I don't want to ruin any of his negotiating power, but I don't think they're far off. Like, I don't think it's on the table and not signed because the number that it's at is like offensive to him and lowball. Okay, that's one. Two. So I had this
and it's
weird
not
thing
ceremonious the way that it was for Devontae. Oh well, we offered him the most money.
Yeah,
He decided not to be here.
Yeah. As he was walking out the door, hey, we'll give you $2 million more. So that's one. Two. So I'm in the locker room yesterday, and Elton Jenkins is one of my guys, and his locker is in the far back corner, in the same region that Quay is. And he says to me, he says, "Hey, you want me to go get Quay for you?" I'm like, "What? Hey, you want me to go get Quay?" Because I had interviewed Quay previously in that area. Actually, I think Quay's locker isn't over there. He just sits a lot with Elton.
Okay.
And so I'm like, "Well, why? Well, why would I want you to get Quay?" And then the little light bulb over my head went off, and I said, "Do you have a scoop for me?" He's like, "Oh, I got a scoop." Okay, well, what is it? I said, "Did he sign the contract?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know anything about that." I said, "Then what the hell do you want me to talk to Quay for?" And Quay is a little bit reluctant to talk to us. Like, I have a good working relationship with him, but he doesn't like to do media stuff very often. So my little reporter antenna are now up, and now that you guys mentioned the contract during this portion of the program, when I get back to the stadium today, I feel like I have more digging to do, because it makes me wonder if they're closing in on this actually happening.
That's awesome.
You
want me to get Quay? For what? Oh, nothing.
Exactly. He'd fit right in with some of the knuckleheads I covered with Chewy and those guys during the day. I will just quickly add this because I for context. I do think that Goody is on the record saying that despite the deal with Micah Parsons, that the structure of it allows them to still do what they want to do, in his words, for the next 3 years.
Yes, well, because we know that I think the base salary is up in the $60 million plus range for year 4. So would you expect any sort of extension, whether we're talking about for Quay or any receiver that they want to extend before the end of the season, that would fit into that window? That it'd basically be, I mean, maybe it ends up being a 4-year deal for Quay, but in actuality, it's a 3-year deal, kind of lining up with that window where they have all this money.
Yeah, I that's exactly what I think. Like, I just think that they're going to they did not want to do this and then hamstring themselves with other key pieces, right? And I still think they're going to let Sean Ryan walk. I still think they're going to let Romeo Doubs walk. I think they're going to let Rasheed Walker go predict that somebody else is going to go 17-0. Like, I don't think they're going to sign a lot of guys. But Goody, who has not always been completely forthcoming, was very clear about their desire about Quay Walker. And the other part of this is, don't forget, Devontae Wyatt, who I think has played pretty well in the first 2 games, is on the 5th-year option, but they can certainly take that and fold that into an extension if they want before next season starts and lock him up for longer too. But the phrase that Goody has said on multiple occasions is that they want both those guys, both those 2022 first-round picks. We want them here for 26 and beyond.
Jason Wilde hanging out with Jen, Gabe, and Chewy this morning. The guys and I were talking this morning, Jason, about Romeo Doubs and what he would have to do to sort of change the trajectory of how things are trending for him right now. What type of season would Romeo have to have in order for them to be like, you know what, actually, we see a future with him long-term in Green Bay?
Yeah, that's a great question. And look, when I say stuff, and I think Rob Domofsky would say the same thing about what kind of formulates his opinions that he shares with us on each of our shows, it's because we've talked to people, and so we know kind of what the team is thinking. Now, that's not always the case. Like, sometimes we just have opinions and educated guesses, and sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're wrong. But, like, Tausch and I were ahead of the curve on Aaron Rodgers being fundamentally unhappy before it became clear he was staying away from the offseason program a few years ago. Like, that stuff is based on conversations with people, which I understand that I can't always explain that in real time when I give an opinion. My understanding is that the episode last year, for people in the building, if it wasn't a deal breaker, it was awfully close to one. And it's hard to get over that kind of stuff. And so I think he's reversed the trajectory of his career, of how people feel about him already. Like, he had a great camp. He has played well in the first 2 games. He seems to be doing everything that they would ask of him, but I don't think that's going to change their opinion on him, even though he's playing well. Like, I think and this is, I'm telling you, this is purely a guess, because he has not said this to me. Romeo is not the most communicative guy I've covered. If I were to guess, though, he has said to himself, or someone has said to him, hey, man, look, it's probably not going to happen here, but if you put together a really, really good season, somebody's going to pay you some big-time money. It's probably not going to be us, so keep your head down, work your tail off, stay focused, don't get emotional about things you don't like, and you're going to make yourself a bunch of money, but it's probably not going to be from us.
Jason Wilde, brought to us by Lakeland Supply. They're in business to make your business better. Set up a free packaging supply chain assessment, lakelandsupply.com. Zach Tom, what's the latest?
Yeah, based on his affect, he ain't playing. It's probably another week away.
Do we know how severe the oblique injury is? Because, again, I think of
not
oblique.
Severe. Yeah,
obviously not severe enough to go on IR, Jason, but, like, I think
or
of oblique.
Surgery.
Yeah.
Right.
I think of oblique, I think a lot of times a baseball player, and they're out. I feel like anytime somebody gets an oblique, it's like a month. And I understand football's a little bit different, and the function of the oblique is different, but I usually think of that as a pretty significant injury.
Yeah, I mean, he said it hurts when he runs. And while he's not running all the way down the field, he does have to run some. I don't think being unable to run is probably good for your chances of being able to play.
Jason, really good stuff there. I appreciate the insight across the board, but particularly on the Romeo Doubs thing, as we were, again, discussing that this morning. Got a feeling we might continue discussing that after you leave us here on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy.
I'm glad I can help with that.
He's Jason Wilde. You can hear him on Wilde and Tausch each and every morning right after our little show. Thanks, Jason.
Take care. Be good.